You guys have loved my baked feta pasta recipe so much, and you've made it the #1 recipe on my site with millions of page views. And today we're making something inspired by baked feta pasta. Hey guys, I'm Yumna, aka Feel Good Foodie, and I love the concept of baking tomatoes and feta cheese together so much that I really wanted to turn it into soup. So this baked feta pasta soup is basically a tomato-based soup that's loaded with salty feta cheese, juicy cherry tomatoes, lots of fresh basil, and shortcut orzo pasta. It has all the fresh and tangy flavor of baked feta pasta, but in soup form, and I think you're really gonna love it. So let's get started because it's officially soup season. We're gonna start by adding 2 pints of cherry tomatoes to an oven-safe baking dish, and then we'll add to it some salt and pepper. And now we'll add 1/4 cup of olive oil and give it all a good toss. When it comes to baking tomatoes, it's important to really crowd the dish because we want them to become juicy and create a sauce from all the tomatoes being crowded together in a small dish like this. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a block of feta cheese and add it right into the middle of the baking dish. And what I like to do is just kind of flip it around a couple times so that the feta cheese gets some of the olive oil, salt, and pepper all over it. So just kind of mix it around a little bit like this. And if you want, you can add a couple scrunches of pepper right on top. Now we're gonna bake it in the preheated oven for 30 to 35 minutes until the feta cheese melts and those tomatoes start to burst. So while the tomatoes and the feta cheese are baking in the oven, we're gonna go ahead and get started on the soup. We'll start with about 1 tablespoon of olive oil, add about 1/2 an onion, and season with salt, pepper, and crushed red pepper to taste. I'm just gonna use about 1/4 teaspoon of it. And let's just cook this for a few minutes until the onions are translucent. So an important tip to keep in mind when you're cooking soup is to flavor as you go. Make sure to add salt and pepper to every ingredient that you add as you're cooking the soup. Now we'll add 4 cloves of garlic, a 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. These are fire roasted, so they add a ton of flavor, but you can just get regular. A tablespoon of fresh thyme, and 4 cups of vegetable stock. And because the veggie broth I'm using is low sodium, I do like to add a little bit of salt and pepper again, just so that we're flavoring as we go. At this point, we're just gonna let it simmer until the baked feta and tomatoes are done cooking in the oven, and then we'll put everything together. All right, the baked feta and the tomatoes are all done cooking. Look how juicy those tomatoes look, and the feta cheese is nice and melty. All right, now we're gonna transfer the baked feta and tomatoes right into the pot of soup that we just started. And the easiest way to do this is just to spoon everything right into the pot of soup. Look at that feta cheese, nice and melty. And then make sure to grab all those juices in there because that's what's really gonna flavor it. Final step is to add the orzo pasta right into the pot of soup and mix everything together. Okay, we're gonna let this simmer for about 7 to 8 minutes until the orzo pasta is cooked through, and then we're ready to serve it. All right, the soup is all ready. You guys, look how good this looks. The orzo is nice and cooked, the tomatoes are bursting with flavor, and the feta cheese just kind of melted in there, so it creates this like beautiful, creamy red sauce. Let's serve this up because it smells so good, and I cannot wait to dig in. And since the feta cheese is all melted in there, I do like to add a little bit of feta cheese on top and some fresh basil just to freshen it all up. All right, time for a taste test. Let's get a bite with some of the tomato, some basil, fresh feta, and orzo. You guys, that is so good. There is so much love about this recipe, and I hope you love it as much as I do. If you do try this baked feta soup recipe, please DM me, tweet me, Facebook me, or send me a message on my website because I love to see all your photos and hear about all of your wonderful recreations. And if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe on my YouTube. I'll see you at the next video.